In 2002, I was working at a movie theater. I started on the opening weekend of today's movie. What are we talking about today? Well, if you haven't read the title, we're talking about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, which happens to be celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. I'm your host, Cinema Kane, and welcome. When Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man opened, I remember the endless lines. We were a 15-screen theater, and we had 4 theaters showing that movie, and the times were stacked in such a way that they only ended 15 to 30 minutes apart. As a result, we were running around like chickens with our head cut off, trying to keep up with the amount of traffic we were having that weekend. To say, as a new employee who was starting that weekend, I got thrown into the fire would be an understatement. But here's the thing I loved about working at the movie theater. I got in for free. I could see anything I wanted to. And I remember taking my mom and dad to see Spider-Man the week after it opened. And man, that movie for the time was such a great film. I mean, I remember thinking, wow, I read comics as a kid, but I never thought that they'd be embraced by regular people the way that this film seems to be. And at the time, it was like the highest grossing movie of the summer that year. And I remember thinking that if this does well, they'll do more. Of course, they'd already made X-Men, and they were working on X-Men 2. But we didn't really have comic book movies saturating the marketplace like we do now. So it really was kind of the first of its kind at the time. And I still stand by what I said in my Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness review, up on the YouTube channel if you didn't know. In that Sam Raimi was the perfect choice for this movie. To me, the reason he was the perfect choice for this movie is because he was a lifelong Spider-Man fan. He also had made a movie in the early 90s called Darkman, which was his own take on a superhero without a comic book to actually back it up. I want to say Marvel actually did a tie-in comic for that movie, but there was no comic book before that tie-in movie with that movie. It was Universal Pictures' answer to WB's Batman 89. It was a great flick. I really enjoy Darkman. I really do. I'll do a review on it sometime. But Spider-Man, to me, was the next logical step, because not only did you have a fan in Sam Raimi, but you had someone who had cut his teeth on doing something experimental that was also trying to be a comic book movie. So now you've got a fan who's done this groundwork trying to get to where he's at. And when he does, he brings his A game. The flying scenes in the original Spider-Man, I say flying scenes, the web swinging scenes in the original Spider-Man are still some of the best to me to this day, because it feels like a kid having fun. Now, you could argue, of course, that Tobey Maguire was too old to be considered a kid at that point, but come on. Tobey Maguire, to me at least, is a great Spider-Man. Will I say he's the best Spider-Man? No, I'm sorry. That honor still goes to Tom Holland. At least that's how I see it. But I do think the cast, for the most part, was very well put together. And I do think that Raimi has a lot to do with that. Now, one other thing to bring up, because I don't like James Franco. I never have. I don't think he's a great actor. That said, Spider-Man, to me, the Spider-Man trilogy he was in, one of the more tolerable performances by him that I can actually watch. Overall, I still think the original Spider-Man holds up. I don't think it holds up as well as the later installments with other actors. I still think that, Spider-Man 2 is probably one of the best superhero movies ever made. But there you go. That's my look back at Spider-Man. If you haven't seen the original Spider-Man, but you've seen Spider-Man No Way Home, go back and do your homework. I'm your host, Cinema Kane. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, don't forget to click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to click that bell notification so you know every time Cinema Kane has a new video uploaded. I'm your host, Cinema Kane. And I'll see you at the video store.